Hey there, welcome to today's social media webinar. We are Strella Social Media. My name is Lainey Goff. I am the Executive Vice President and TikTok expert of our company.
And I'm Rachel Strella, and I'm the CEO and founder.
Strella has been a member of BIA for over 5 years, and we're very excited to share with you today some really important tips on how to market your business on social media. We'll talk a lot about creating a social media strategy and ways that you can create content that speaks directly to your customer, as well as some tools that may help you along the way. I think we're all pretty much aware of how important it is for businesses to utilize social media when they are marketing their product or their service. But these stats that we have here from Sprout Social really give us even more proof that social media is crucial in order to thrive in the social media realm when you're marketing your business. The first stat that you'll see here is that 55% of consumers learn about or discover new brands on social media. If you think about your favorite TV show and the streaming service or the network cable provider that you utilize to watch your favorite TV show, I want you to really think hard about how many ads do you typically see when you're watching your favorite show. If I had to guess, most of you aren't seeing any ads at all, with things like Hulu Premium and Apple TV, even DirecTV, where you're able to buy an upgraded package to remove all ads. These things really eliminate them from traditional marketing and advertising strategies. So people are learning way more about brands on social than they are on TV or radio ads these days. Not only that, but the size of social networks has grown significantly and will continue to grow, with it's estimated to be around 243 billion users on social networks by 2025. So if you're not a business that's capitalizing on social media to market your brand, then your competitors are likely going to be the ones who are discovered first. The second stat here that you'll see, 68% of consumers, they agree that social media enables them to interact with brands and companies. Now, traditional marketing and advertising methods are really a one-way media. They don't allow for that customer engagement. And this is something that is very unique with social media, that you are able to have that two-way dialogue with your audience. So it gives you an opportunity to have an actual conversation with your potential clients, but also it gives brands who are consistently engaging with their audience an opportunity to build brand trust, to really put themselves out there as somebody who cares about their clients, which, if I had to guess, as a business owner, that's probably something that is very important to you. So all of this really differentiates social media marketing versus traditional one-way marketing. And the third stat is that 43% of consumers increased their social media use to discover new products and services in 2022. I think we are all very much aware of why this is. Because of the pandemic, a lot of people were hunkered down at home, and really everything just shifted to the digital space. So this is a trend that is actually not going anywhere. It's likely that this is actually going to continue, and it's going to expand over the next 3 years. So knowing all of this, and probably your prior knowledge to how important social media is for your business, it's really important that all of these businesses are proactive in how they're marketing themselves on social media. This could mean learning as much as you can about different platforms, or having a designated team member who already is pretty knowledgeable and investing in them to learn and grow in the social media realm. It could also mean you investing in a social media management company like Strella, where you depend on the expertise and the knowledge of people who are in the realm every single day to really navigate your path for marketing on social media. But either way, the focus should be on making it really seamless for your consumers to go from discovering your brand and then going to purchase mode, right? So we want to make sure that there's a client journey here. So then that leads us to, okay, how do you create a client journey? The first step that we really encourage you to make is that you're going to define your goals and objectives. Making sure that you have really clear and measurable goals is going to benefit you in a lot of ways. Number one, it's going to give you direction and focus. It's going to give you some sort of understanding for not only you, but also for your team, of what needs to be achieved with your social media strategy. Second, it also is a huge motivator. It gives you a sense of purpose. It makes it so that you're not just posting to post. It gives you a true understanding of why you're posting what you're posting and what you're actually looking to get out of the time and the effort that you're putting into social media. And it also allows you to track your progress. It gives you the ability to really assess your performance and gives you insight into course correction. What do you need to do to improve? It gives you the ability to celebrate achievements, right? That's a huge process. Like if you have the ability to understand, okay, I'm actually meeting these set goals, then that's going to give you even more motivation to continue doing so. And then of course you have decision making. The number one thing that really stops businesses in their tracks is decision fatigue, right? As a business owner, you have so many things that you really have to navigate and to make decisions on a constant basis. But if you are very clear about your goals and your objectives with your social media marketing, it makes you in a position that you can make informed decisions. And so it's a lot less stressful and it has everybody on the same page. So these are some steps that you can take to really start to define your objectives and your goals with social media. The first one, which hopefully we've all already done, is to understand our business objectives. We want you to identify how social media can contribute to your overall success of the company. If you don't already have your business objectives nailed down, this is the time to do it. If you can align your social media objectives with your business objectives, it's going to make it very easy for you to understand what goals you want to achieve. Secondly, you want to make sure that you identify your target audience. This is probably the second most important thing that we're going to talk about, and actually we're going to delve into it a little bit more in depth in just a minute. But having that information of who your target audience is going to help you to tailor your goals, but also create a content strategy. It gives you the opportunity to know exactly who you're speaking to and how to speak to them so that you can see the best results possible. And then you have the ability to benchmark your current performance. So if you can go in and actually take a look at your current social media and see where are you, okay, this is going to give you some sort of baseline to gauge what your progress is over time. If you start at nothing and you're not actually seeing how you're progressing over time, then what is the point? So making sure that you go ahead and benchmark where you're at so that you can see that huge increase in your performance is important. And then also we want you to choose key metrics. So there's a lot of different metrics that you can utilize to really be able to measure how you're seeing success. You could choose metrics like your reach, your engagement rate. You could also go another route and say, okay, I'm going to measure my success on conversion rates or leads. So understanding what is your goal, what are you looking for? Are you looking for more followers? Are you looking for more brand exposure? Or are you actually looking for more money in the door? What is that looking like for your company is going to really dictate what those metrics are that you want to use. And then the last thing that we want you to focus on is to set time frames. If without a time frame, there's really not a need or a sense of urgency. And if you're able to give yourself a deadline, then it ensures that you are actually working towards meeting that deadline and getting to that goal at that point. If you don't get to it, it's okay. We've all been there. There's nothing wrong with that. But it does give you some sort of understanding that this is something I need to continually be working for and not put it on the back burner. So one of those steps being defining your target audience. Again, hopefully this is something that you've already done considering that you are a business owner. If you're going to define your audience, we really need to understand like why this is so crucial when it comes to social media marketing. Like I talked about before, number one, it's really going to help you to tailor your marketing strategy to be able to create content that is going to resonate with your ideal customer. If you're able to really understand their pain points, their preferences, any interests that they have, it gives you the ability to speak directly to their needs. If you are on social media, you've likely been trapped in the, I just want to feel seen, I just want to feel heard. And if somebody does that, and that could be through relatability, it could be something simple as, you know, I was walking down the street and I thought to myself, why are trees green? And you could say to yourself, I thought that same thing. You know, it's that relatability that keeps you there. And so if you're able to provide that sense of, I hear you, I understand you, you're not the only one, then this is going to help your content strategy. Also, if you're able to define your audience, it really helps to identify the different platforms that you want to be on. Every single social media platform has its own unique criteria, basically, of who's on there and what type of content they like to consume. So if you have an understanding of who your target audience is, then you're more likely to have an understanding of what content platforms they're actually on to consume the content that you're posting. So you can make sure that your marketing efforts are actually focused in the right areas on the right platforms, and you're not wasting energy on Twitter or TikTok when that's not even where your audience is at. In addition to that, it gives you the ability to engage with your potential clients, but on a personal level. Like we talked about before with the stats, if you're able to increase that likelihood of conversions just by engaging authentically with your clients, then that in itself is so simple and something that you could do on a daily basis. And if you have that understanding of who your target audience is, then that authentic communication is a lot easier. And then, of course, probably the most important is that when you define your audience, it enables you to foster brand loyalty. This means that you're really able to encourage your customers to spread the word about your services. So if you have a customer who is your ideal client that you've worked with, and you continue to showcase what you've done for them, and they have experienced what it is to work with you and for you to change their lives in some form or another with a product or a service, then they're more likely to actually spread the word about your service. And that's the type of content that really elevates your marketing strategy.
So we've heard a lot here already, and we're just now really diving into sort of the technique. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about rich content sources. So a lot of people dive right into the social media channels, and they overlook the key fundamental of a great story, which is rich content. So there are three primary content sources: blogs, podcasts, and video series. The reason we call it rich content is because it's giving you more than just a tweet or an image on a distribution channel, which is what Lainey will discuss with you next. Rich content sources offer depth and breadth for your audience. They are the best places to showcase your expertise, build authority, and build trust with your audience. I always recommend at least one source of rich content. Pick one that you're most comfortable with and stick with it. I've always personally preferred writing as opposed to video, so I've been blogging actively for 13 years. Recently, however, I started podcasting, and I found that to be a great outlet, especially with a co-host. Again, pick whatever you're comfortable with and remain consistent with it. But aside from depth and breadth, rich content sources are often housed on your property rather than bought on rented land, meaning you typically own or have the rights to the content regardless of what happens. For example, if you focus all of your energy on TikTok or Instagram and either one of those channels no longer exists down the road, you've lost all of that content. That's rented land. However, if you put your energy into a blog or a podcast, you typically own that blogging site such as WordPress or that podcast platform such as Buzzsprout. And as long as you pay that hosting fee or subscription fee, you own that content and it will not go anywhere. While a rich content source will take more time and energy than a social media distribution channel, it plays the content long game that will benefit you over time. I know this firsthand, and I've been blogging for over a decade, writing about topics that are important to my readers and finding ways to transmit that message through social media and through syndication. And my content has built my audience, it's totally increased my SEO, and it's given me exposure nationally and even internationally, which has helped me attract clients from all over the United States and beyond. However, your clientele is more likely to be in the Lancaster and Lebanon area, but this actually gives you a distinct advantage because you can use keyword groupings in the topics that your prospective audience would be most interested in finding out about and how they might search to find you.
So Rachel brings up a really great point here about the way I look at it is long form content versus short form content, which we're actually getting ready to talk more about platforms that are catered to short form content. Really the exception here being YouTube. But still, she's right, it's still rented land. But this is a great example of why it's really important for you to understand what platforms are correct for you. In my opinion, I think it's really important to have at least one long form content and or platform and at least two short form content platforms. So if you're able to at least have a blog or a podcast or something along those lines, or you could do the YouTube channel, but again, remember that's rented land. In addition to having the short form content platforms, then that's really going to elevate you as far as success, because it's expanding your reach tremendously. It's giving variety in the content, but you still have the same core of your values and what you're sharing. It's just way more detailed and really opens the door for opportunity whenever you have both. So jumping into mainly short form content platforms, I'm sure you're also already aware that every social media platform has its own unique features, audience behavior, and even practices and what works best for each one. So if you're really trying to understand which platform should I be on, which one is going to really be the most successful for my business, there's a number of things that you could really ask yourself to understand which ones you should choose. The first one being, of course, who is your target audience? Understanding things like demographics and what type of content they really resonate with is going to help you to eliminate ones that aren't going to be your target audience. For example, if your target audience is, a 30-year-old woman who is really into, this isn't going to be you, but fashion and beauty, but I'm just trying to come up with an example off the top of my head. So if you are able to take that information and say, okay, what platforms are women in their 30s who are really into beauty and fashion on? You're going to eliminate LinkedIn immediately. You're going to eliminate probably Facebook, if I had to guess. You're even probably going to eliminate Twitter, or now it's called X. And really you're going to focus on platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So understanding really and truly as much as you can about who your ideal client is going to help you dictate which ones you can eliminate. The second thing is to understand, where do they consume their content? Again, it goes back to understanding who is your ideal client and where are they. Not only do you need to know where do they consume content, where do they spend their off time, scrolling, you need to understand what type of content do they like to consume. Some people are really into still images, okay? That's going to be more of your Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, that kind of realm. But there are others who just do better with video content. If that's the case, then you're really going to focus on TikTok or YouTube. You could even squeeze Instagram in there. But understanding not only where do they consume the content, but what type of content do they prefer is going to help to guide your strategy as well. And then what's really important that I think that people often forget to think about is, what platforms do you know? Which ones are you familiar with? If you're a DIYer and you're doing your own social media for your business, you absolutely cannot just rely on figuring it out as you go if you don't have the time for that, because it is extremely time consuming, especially when there are so many out there. And like I said, if you really want to do one long form piece of content, two short form pieces of content, that's 3 different platforms that you need to be very much aware of how to actually post content on them and see success. So if you already have a really good understanding of Facebook, I would start there. Even if you aren't entirely clear on where your audience is at, until you have a very good understanding of that, at least start there. That will at least give you the opportunity to get really comfortable posting, because you already know the dynamics of that platform. Of course, if not, then you can always seek out an expert and say, hey, what do I need to know the most, and how am I going to see the most success on these specific platforms if you don't already know about them. So not only do you have to know who your target audience is, choose your right platforms, get your goals and objectives down, but you really want to have an understanding too of your brand voice. And this is something that a lot of times people think about this with mainly product-based businesses, but it's actually extremely important for service-based businesses as well. And it's not always what you think it is. I don't necessarily mean that you need to have a full brand kit where your logo is matching to all of that. That's not what I mean by this. With your brand voice, it's really all about your messaging. What type of message are you trying to portray, And how are you going to portray that message? And how are you consistently going to do that across many social media platforms, along with on your website, when you're in person with a client? You want to make sure that you're showing up as human as possible, even in the digital realm. So consistent brand messaging, it just gives you the opportunity to establish a strong and recognizable brand identity. Not only that, but it really gives you the chance to convey your unique value proposition, and to even showcase your expertise. So you are not just blending in with the crowd, you're really focusing on, this is what makes me different. This is why I'm in the space that I'm in the industry that I'm in, and this is what separates me from every other person in my industry. So by really harnessing that and understanding what it is that is unique about you and your business can help with your brand messaging and guiding how you're going to relay that message to your audience. And again, just brings you to a point where you're differentiating yourself from your competitors. Because if I had to guess, there's probably a lot of competitors in your industry. So you have to have a good understanding of what really makes you unique against everybody else. So when it comes to really establishing your brand voice and building that brand loyalty, because these audience viewers are going to know exactly what to expect from you, then it also gives you a chance to do these three things. Okay, so if you focus a lot on your brand messaging and your brand voice, then you can do these three things, and it's just going to really build that brand trust with your viewers on another level. If you just willy-nilly go into things and you're not very clear on it, then you're probably not going to see as much success as you think you would. But number one, stay true to your brand values. Again, this goes back to the very beginning where I talked about understanding that your social media goals need to align with your business goals. Everything needs to align into one, okay? And if you're able to do that, your consistency in messaging really reinforces your brand's commitment to your principles, okay? Again, brand trust. It just establishes that trust between you and a viewer who probably doesn't even know you or your business, but allows them to get to know you over and over and over again if you repeat your message and you are very clear for yourself on what your brand's messaging is. And then also if you're able to engage authentically. So when I think of brand voice, this is typically where my brain goes first, is how do you respond to comments? How do you respond to direct messages? How are you engaging with your audience on social media? And if you, number one, do that consistently, you're already ahead of the game. So if you're leaving comments unread or direct messages unread, or you don't respond to them at all, that already is just dwindling your brand trust automatically. So if you're able to do it consistently and really maintain authenticity in how you're actually responding to them, it gives your brand a human touch. It makes it seem not so salesy. It makes it seem like you're just a friend, you're giving them advice, or you're talking to them about how you can change their own space and make it into what they want, what they would do with the space that they have. Anything like that where you're just truly being a human and showing up and responding to people consistently, again, elevating that brand trust. And then of course you want to make sure that you have some visual consistency. This doesn't have to be as tailored as it used to be in the past. Social media has really taken a pivot in how specifically videos and images are posted and what is acceptable. It used to be very idealistic, where it was heavily edited and it had this perfection to it. Whereas now people really are enjoying the authentic side of things. So whether you are on video or you're capturing photos of you behind the scenes with your team or something like that, you don't have to worry about the consistency too much in those. But what I do think is important is that you do have some sort of consistency in the variety of content that you're posting. That sounds crazy to say, consistency and variety in the same sentence, but what I mean by that is that you could be posting different types of content. So you could have, behind the scenes content, and then you could also have an educational post where you're giving information about energy efficient products. But the thing is that there's consistency in these two things because it's identifiable. If you have that, then it's going to make it very recognizable, very identifiable. When people are scrolling on their feed and they see that come up, they're immediately going to know who it's coming from. So that's what I mean by visual consistency. That's what I mean consistency with the variety in your content. Really at the crux of almost everything that we've talked about so far has involved your engagement with the audience, whether we're talking about brand voice or how to really elevate that brand trust. It's very important for you to make sure that not only are you showing up on social media, but you're actually engaging on social media. We like to call it the post and ghost. We don't want you to get on, make a post, and then not go back and check it and leave everybody hanging in the comments when they've got questions or things like that. I'm going to show you an example here in just a second of what I mean by this, but there's really some easy ways that you can foster this sense of community with your followers. Number one is just responding promptly. You don't want to leave people hanging. I typically think that if you can respond to most people within that first hour, and then if you want to give it another 24 hours and come back, that's perfectly fine, as long as you're just not leaving them out there with nothing. When people go in and they see that you're not actually responding to anybody, it makes that person feel like you don't value your followers. You don't value the audience that you have. So you really don't want to do that and make it look bad on your company. If you can just respond, then they're going to have more trust in you to actually invest in your product or service. The second thing is you can ask questions in your posts. This one actually that I have here on the screen is a really great example of that. You can use a call to action in your captions to encourage that engagement. Again, you need to be prepared to actually respond to the people who do engage after you post the question. But this is a simple one that says to take a look at the kitchens and let us know what you think in the comments. That's so simple, and really it's a great way to foster that community, increase that engagement, and people can really also see your work. It showcases all of your abilities, what you're an expert at. And then, of course, personalized interactions. This goes back to staying authentic and bringing in that human touch that we talked about with your brand voice. You want to, number one, reply to people by their name. This actually is such a personalized touch that so many people miss out on. If you can just make it feel for your audience or your viewers that you are invested in who they are, not just them being another follower, that's going to be really important for you, and that's going to elevate that brand trust for you. So you want to make sure that your responses are really personable so that your followers feel really seen, they feel really heard. Most of the time, that's what people come onto social media for. This is actually a couple of examples here with fostering a community. One is a good example and one is a terrible example of what to do. The first one you'll see here, this is actually one of our clients, and it was a TikTok that we posted, and somebody said part 2 please, meaning that they saw the video and they wanted to see the rest of what happened after that video ended. And we could have taken the easy route and just said, oh, we're gonna like it and say, oh, maybe we'll get to it or hope that we can post it soon. But instead what we did is we actually took the time to make the video, to cut the clip, edit it, so that we could post the part 2. This is just one example of somebody feeling seen and feeling heard. They probably didn't expect for this customer to actually reply to their comment, and let alone to reply to it with a video. It's exactly what they were looking for. So it's one simple way that you can elevate that. And then the second example here is actually what you don't want to do. This company, actually this builder, they missed so many opportunities. This is just one screenshot, but this actual post that they made had thousands of comments, and I went through them and there were so many that were not replied to, and it's just leaving a lot of opportunity on the table. Even though it seems probably daunting, if you can assign the task to somebody on your team, or if you invest in a social media management company, you'll have somebody there to actually take the time to respond to these people. Something that we get asked a lot, probably more than anything, is the age-old question of how often should I post? Now, that's very tricky. It's all dependent on what platform that you choose. But there is a lot of importance that needs to be understood when it comes to being consistent. if you're able to stay consistent, you're already worlds ahead. That's probably the hardest thing that I think people have with social media is just the ability to stay consistent. Now, this is probably going to require you to come up with a plan with you to actually have some sort of content calendar where you know what day you're posting, when you're posting it, what's your caption going to be, who you're tagging. All of this information is important in order for you to stay consistent. But if you do stay consistent, then number one, you're going to increase your brand awareness. Okay, so when people engage with your content, they're more likely to remember your brand and share it with others. If there's anything that's ever stuck with me with marketing, it's that people need to hear something a minimum of 7 times in order to feel ready to invest in that product or service. That's 7 times. I mean, that's a lot, and it really puts things into perspective for you with how much effort and energy you do have to put into social media for you to get to the point where you're actually making conversions. But if you do that and you stay consistent, then that's exactly what it's going to do. You're going to be top of mind. Somebody may not be ready to purchase your brand or your product or your service at that exact moment, but when they are ready, you're going to be the first person that comes to mind. It also gives you an opportunity to build relationships. You can monitor, respond to comments, any questions that you get from your viewers. And by doing that, you're able to get really valuable insights into what their needs are and what their preferences are so that you can make really informed decisions with your marketing strategy. You can truly cater the content that you're creating to what your audience needs or wants to see. And then, of course, it also helps you to improve your SEO. This is a big one that a lot of people may not even be aware of, that social media engagement can actually improve your search engine rankings because of the fact that search engines, they take into account the number of social media shares, the quality of your social media content, the number of the mentions that you have. All of this is taken into account when determining the relevance of a website. So if somebody Googles your company name, there's absolutely an opportunity for your social media accounts to populate first if you do it correctly. If you're consistent and you are constantly using relevant hashtags or captions that have keywords in it, depending on what type of content you're providing, all of this matters in order to increase and improve that SEO ranking for you. And then, of course, your consistency is going to, once again, just improve your customer loyalty, really build that brand trust. So when a customer engages with your brand on social media and you're consistently responding to them, then you're more likely to have a loyal customer at the end of the day.
Now for everyone's favorite topic, ROI. So measuring the return on investment of social media is a challenge for small business owners especially. And I find it's really hard for them to quantify the efforts and devote the time and energy to stay committed for the long haul. This is a long race, and it's important to understand the role of social media and its impact. So right off the top, social media is a top of the funnel activity. So that includes some of the things that Lainey just talked about, awareness and brand building. They are core. That's what social media is. And a business needs to be invested in that first, alone, before they can expect some of the other bottom funnel activity, especially when it comes to monetary ROI. I think so many businesses jump right to lead generation, which, by the way, is a natural outcome of a successful social media presence, but it does take time. You have to be willing to invest and serve your community first. So if I had any actionable advice, it would be sometime building your audience, building your list, building your community, all the things that we just talked about, and offer value first. Because once you've established trust, you can move through the funnel. So ROI, as we just talked about, is more than just dollars and cents. You can have a positive impact on your business from these efforts, increase visibility, enhance trust, customer loyalty. Taking the time to build your community through this value add that's what putting social first rather than for selling, and that leads to the greater growth of your social platforms, which in turn will lead to a stronger ROI. So how do you know what goals to measure and how do you track all of this stuff? So the way that I break this down is that the key to measuring your results is to tie your social media goals to your measurements. Seems simple, right? But not always. A goal itself could have several different type of measurements, and some of these measurements will overlap with other goals. But you could start simple with some numerical measurements to match specific objectives. So in these 3 examples that I list in the slide, it shows very specific goals and simple measurements that you can apply to help determine your progress. I highly recommend that you track these results month over month and evaluate your progress quarterly. I also recommend that you commit to social media marketing for at least 12 to 18 months before expecting a positive return on your investment. So just breaking down simple goals here: brand awareness and increased visibility. One way that you can measure that is by number of followers. While that is sort of a really easy vanity metric, the more followers you get, the more people who are interested. You can also check out the number of people seeing your posts, how many people are actually seeing each post, which gets harder with the algorithms that we have now, but it's helpful for tracking. Any type of social media mentions that you get, if somebody mentions your brand. Social shares, I can't tell you how much impact this has. This is the key. If somebody is sharing your content, that they have a less than 0.5% chance that they're going to. But if they do, they have an emotional connection to it. So it's so important to measure social shares, because that's where your real value is. Another goal is customer service and loyalty, which Lainey just talked about at length. But some of the ways you can measure that is your response rate. How fast are you responding? Are they satisfied with the response? Any type of social media engagement. So you have direct messages, but you also have comments on the feed. Returning website visitors. So you can track through your analytics who's returning to your site and where they're coming from. And also positive online reviews. And I know when I'm searching for anything, I check out reviews before I ever even decide I'm going to contact a company. So these are some great ways to measure customer service and loyalty. A final one is increased website traffic and conversions. So we just talked about traffic from social media. You can easily track what's coming from certain areas. There'll be referral sites. Social media is one of them. You can also track the behavior. So if somebody's clicked on a site, you can track to see if they've clicked on other areas of the site from their initial click. This will really help you to see that website traffic is working positively. Time on page is also a really great metric. If people aren't sticking around, they're not interested in the content. But if they're staying for a few minutes, and especially if they're going somewhere else, this is a really great return. And then any action taken on a website. We can use a lot of different metrics and different tools to see that they're doing something, whether that means they are opting into a list, downloading a guide, reaching out to contact you. There are a lot of different ways that you can track this.
Okay, so now that we've really kind of gone in depth about what it means to have an understanding of what you need in order to start creating content, what your strategy needs to be, now we can really dive deep into probably some of the things that most people are looking forward to, and that's understanding what type of content should I be sharing. And so it really comes down to these types of content listed here. There's obviously way more content that you could be sharing, but I think that as far as the industry that you're likely in, these are the things that are going to be most beneficial for you to see the most success. Number one being images. This is probably very easy to understand, and something that you see on a lot of different platforms. Most platforms, you're going to see images being a type of content that you can share on them, but really they're just visually captivating and they're able to quickly grab an audience's attention. So you're going to utilize these images for doing things like showcasing completed projects that you've done, architectural design, and any type of visually appealing aspect of a home that you can share that is maybe even detailed, right? So if it's something that, showcases your unique value proposition that we talked about before, like maybe you really specialize in mud rooms. Maybe you have some sort of unique feature that you create in all of your homes. By just capturing images of different mud rooms that you have built over time, then that in itself is going to give you your unique value proposition, but also have that appealing aesthetic attention grabber that your audience is looking for. And then also we have videos, which a lot of people probably are very aware of what a video is. This is going to range differently for every single platform, whether it's a short form platform or a long form platform, but videos have actually really taken precedence over all other types of content when it comes to social media. So no matter what, I believe 1000% you should have some sort of video content in your strategy no matter what. I don't care if it's short form, I don't care if you do YouTube for long form. No matter what platform you're on, you need to incorporate videos in your content formula at some point. So the reason why is because videos are really engaging and they allow for storytelling, which is something that you're not able to do as easily with images. It can happen a lot faster whenever you're utilizing video content. So it just gives that sort of dynamic aspect to the content that you're sharing, because it gives you an opportunity to share more than what you can share in just an image. So an idea of what you can utilize for video content would be a virtual tour. It could be customer testimonials. Another example of video content is if you have a customer who's willing to record themselves and talk about their experience working with you, that's excellent video footage for you to help build that brand trust. You could do behind the scenes footage. This is also something that isn't always considered, and is actually really easy video content to make if you can just record you and your team and create a video that showcases what is your company culture like. Do people actually want to work with you because they have an understanding of how you and your team work together? Is it a good dynamic between all of you that's going to, again, increase that trust to invest in your service? So behind the scenes footage is great video content to use. You can also do informational content where you do what we call a talking head video, where you're just shoulders up looking directly in the camera like you're on FaceTime. And you could talk about something that's important for your prospective client to understand or to know about. It could be something that is actually a frequently asked question, and you could answer it right there in the video and showcase that on all of your social media platforms. So those are some examples that you could start off using with video footage and start to create content that way. And then you could really just kind of like shift every week. Okay, I'm going to do a video on behind the scenes footage this week. Next week, I'm going to do a video on informational content. And you could just continue to trickle through those. And that gives you some sort of content structure for how you're utilizing videos. And then, of course, we have blogs, which Rachel talked about a little bit whenever we were talking about having long form content and having it on your own website, making sure it's not that rented space. And so blogs really provide in-depth information, and they establish you as an industry expert. Again, that longer form content is giving you the ability to go way more in depth about what it is that you have knowledge on, so that you can showcase your expertise and have people understand why it is that you are in the industry that you're in, and that they can trust that you know what you're doing. You can cover different topics like home design trends. You could actually be a little controversial, and if you don't like a current trend that's happening in homes, it's not a bad idea for you to actually say that and put it into a blog and explain why. What is your reasoning? Because you don't like this trend. What is the reasoning behind that? You could also talk about sustainability practices or even home improvement tips. You could do neighborhood spotlights. These are all examples of ways that you can utilize blogs as content. And again, those are typically hosted on your website, but they can be promoted on your social media platforms with snippets. You could do, even take it into video format, where you just take one small portion of your blog and you talk specifically about that one portion of your blog. You could share the links on your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Instagram, wherever you wanted to share it. So those are ways that you can kind of transform it into short form content. And then you have infographics. Personally, I think that these are taking a decline as far as how people are viewing them, because I think video content has just taken over so much. But infographics can be really important to, again, showcase your expertise, but also to really inform your clients, because of course not only are you providing a service for them, but you want them to be very educated in why you're doing what you're doing. So it gives you the opportunity to present data and information in a really visually appealing way, but also a way that's easily digestible. So it's an easy way for you to share statistics. You could talk about energy efficient features. You could talk about floor plan comparisons, anything that's pretty complex or involves a lot of information. If you can put that into a visually appealing graph, chart, something that is way easier for people to actually understand when they look at it, then that's a simple way for you to create some sort of static content. And then you also have case studies. This again could be in the form of images or videos, a blog. You can highlight really successful projects that you've had. You could talk about the challenges that you've had with those projects, or even challenges that the client that you were working for was having that you helped to provide a solution for. So going in depth about what the problem was, what solutions you came up with, and what the outcomes were is the whole essence of a case study. And it just gives you the opportunity to showcase your expertise and your problem solving abilities, how your service is actually going to transform somebody's life. And then one that is missed out on way too much, that could be very beneficial for you and your business, is user generated content. You'll also see this called UGC. And what it is it's content that's created and shared by your actual customers or your followers, where they're giving insight into their experience with you and your service. So this can include things like images or videos. So if you had a customer who you built a home for and they decided to share that on Instagram and they tagged you in the post, it would be very beneficial for you to share that post on your social media, even to create a little highlight on your Instagram where you do this for any kind of content where a customer tags you in it, so that people can go there and they say, okay, these are actual real life people who utilized this person and their service, and this is the result that they got from it. Again, building brand trust. So UGC is an easy way to create content because you're just repurposing what somebody else created, but it's actually really beneficial for you to build that trust. And then you also have testimonials, same thing, kind of like the case study, kind of like the UGC. It could be written, it could be a video endorsement, it could just be a satisfied customer explaining why they decided to go with you and why they're happy that they did so. Now, knowing that you have all of these different types of content that you can start to create, you then, of course, have to understand, okay, if I create this specific type of content, which platform is it going to actually see success on? So I just went through here and wanted to give you a little bit of an understanding of each platform. There are, of course, our top platforms, the ones that have the most users on them, and then, it kind of trickles down. But really and truly, like I said before, it's so dependent on where is your target audience. I would at least pick 2 out of these that you are showing up consistently on. If you can do more, great. But the last thing you want to do is to overwhelm yourself and then you're not posting consistently at all. So if you need to start with 2, just start with 2. If you can do more, that's great. But if not, that's okay too. So the first one that we have is Instagram. Instagram is really a lot of different things. Actually, I kind of think of it as just like a conglomerate of all the social media platforms together. So you've got visually appealing images that you can utilize there, short form videos. So these are going to be videos that are less than 90 seconds. And then you're also going to be able to do things like behind the scenes content with Instagram stories. And you can engage with your audience there like you can on most of these other platforms. But it's kind of like everything in one with Instagram, in my opinion. And then you have TikTok. TikTok is actually very misunderstood, I think. This platform, it really caters mainly to video content. You do have the ability now to add photos on TikTok, but they just don't perform the same. So this is going to be short form content, 3 minutes or less. And this is a great place for storytelling. Storytelling videos are currently performing really well. It's no longer the trends that you used to see where people are doing dances and things like that. People are actually just sharing their experience and their knowledge. So if you could do a tutorial on TikTok, or you can talk about an experience that a customer had with you, or you can showcase, a new design that you made. All of this is going to be something that you can use on TikTok to show your unique aspects of the work that you do. And then Facebook is also kind of the same as Instagram. It's a little bit of everything in one. You have tons of different content formats, so you can do images, videos. You can add links directly in posts, which I think is really kind of the game changer against Instagram, because you can't really add links in specific posts. But you can also do live streams as well. So between Instagram and Facebook, I think it's really going to be dependent on the demographic and the age of your target audience. If you've got a younger ideal client, then they're probably more likely on Instagram. If they're maybe older, they're probably going to be on Facebook. Now, when it comes to the industry that you're in, LinkedIn, I think, is going to be a very important platform for most of you, if not all of you. This, of course, is kind of like the professional side of social media, where it's industry related. So you can share things like blogs, case studies, updates on your company achievements. Really understanding company culture is great on LinkedIn. Anything that you can showcase with that. You have the ability to do multiple types of content. Again, images, videos, anything in that realm. You could do static text posts. But really and truly, this is, again, like the professional side of social media, where you're connecting with other networks, other competitors, you're connecting and collaborating. So it's just keeping your options open within your industry. And then you have YouTube, which again is going to be that long form content, video content. You do have the ability to now utilize YouTube Shorts, which is going to be short form video content of a minute or less. You can do a lot of different things on YouTube. You can do virtual tours. Now this is really great if you have a video of an entire house that you want to showcase. Instead of just sections of it, you can put that into one long form piece that you're going to put out onto YouTube. Construction progress, in-depth tutorials, things like that are going to be great for this platform. And then you have Twitter, which is now called X. This is great for sharing really quick updates. This is going to be the easy platform, in my opinion. I think it's very easy to stay consistent on Twitter. Most people typically do text posts, but also you can share images and short videos and links to blogs or articles. So if you're looking for a platform to get started on, that might be easier for you to kind of navigate and to feel like you have some consistency with, Twitter or X might be the best option for you. Now, another one that I feel like would be very important for your industry is Pinterest. Pinterest is a very complicated platform to some degree. I would definitely make sure that you're very well versed on Pinterest to see the most success. But the thing is that a lot of your work is going to be visually appealing, and Pinterest really focuses on visually appealing images. It has a lot of home renovators on there, people who are looking to build homes. They're looking for inspiration for their homes. They're looking for all of the things that really you encapsulate with what you're doing for your work. So this might be an excellent platform for you to go to. I would just make sure that you're very well versed on Pinterest, because it can get tricky at times. And then you also have this brand new platform that Instagram came out with called Threads. Threads is actually just like Twitter or X now. This all seems very complicated the more that I say things, but so Threads is pretty much brand new. It's been about a month maybe that it has been out, and at this point I would say that if you're just getting started in social media, I would not choose this as your first pick, just because it's in its infancy stage and there's really so much to learn about it. But it's, like I said, just like Twitter or X, where you're going to use things like short updates, you're going to use text, you're going to have an image or a very short video, you can do links and blogs, articles, but there's not much known about where Threads is going yet that I would invest too much time into it, but it's something to keep your eye out on. Now, one of the things that a lot of businesses get hung up on is feeling like they're being pulled in too many directions, and to keep up with multiple platforms is just too much work. It's too much energy and effort. But really and truly, with me going through all of those platforms and what type of content you can utilize on them, you can see that there's a lot of consistency there. You have the ability to do images and videos in pretty much every single platform. So there's zero reason why you shouldn't be repurposing, taking content that you're posting on one platform and bringing it over to another. It's going to save you a lot of time, but it's also going to do so much more. The first thing is it's going to expand your reach to a new audience. So maybe you have an understanding of who your target audience is and what platforms they're on, but maybe the target audience that you have one set that's on Facebook, but you have another set who's on Instagram. If you're able to take that content and repurpose it to both of them, then you're just hitting both of those target audiences in one fell swoop without having to reinvent the wheel. It also reinforces your message. Again, we want to make sure that we're staying consistent with what our messaging is across the board. So if we're using the same content on one platform and using it on another, then all it does is just reinforce that message and your principles. It also helps to improve your organic reach. So if you have a really good understanding of, okay, this post is done really well on Instagram, this is the caption that I used, the hashtag that I used, and you analyze why it is that that posted well and you transfer that over to another platform, that's going to help you to see more success on that platform because you have an understanding of why that posted really well. So it doesn't necessarily mean when I say repurposing that you have to do it at the same time. You can repurpose old posts from another platform that you never posted on the platform that you're looking to post it on. So keep that in mind, that if you've even done things in the past on one platform that you want to pull and bring to another, you can absolutely do that, and it just gives you so much more insight into how that post is going to perform. And then it also, again, gives new life to old content. So if you do the same thing, then you're not reinventing the wheel. And it makes the most out of the work that you've put in. So kind of the same premise there, but in addition to that, it enhances your knowledge and skill set. So what I mean by this is that if you are a DIYer and you're doing your own social media marketing for your brand or your business, the more that you are posting on each platform, the more you're going to learn and understand what it takes to actually see success on that platform. So if you're just posting on one platform and you're not actually repurposing and bringing it over to another, you'll never really truly understand why that post will or will not do good on the other platform. So if you're able to really invest time into understanding each platform that you're utilizing, then the more you do it, the more you learn, the better your posts get, the more reach you get. Another thing that I really wanted to highlight that is often missed by a lot of businesses is the opportunity for collaboration. And what I mean by that is if you work with somebody else who is within your industry or related to your industry, and you're able to work together on content, that is going to help you in so many ways. Number one, it expands your reach. So you can see here in this BIA post that we created that we collaborated with another business, and it's just one example of how you can do this. This is a Facebook post that we created, and again, it was repurposed, I'm sure. So it's an easy way for you to work with somebody else. But collaboration doesn't mean that you necessarily have to work directly with somebody else in your industry. What it means is that you're just giving credit or showcasing it so that you have potential for that other industry related business to share the post to give you more exposure. It also builds credibility and trust because it shows that you are working with other businesses, with other professionals, that they actually are contacting you to work with you. You are doing nothing but showing that maybe you're easy to work with, that there are these other businesses that are willing to collaborate with you. And then, of course, not only do you get that expanded reach, you get that expanded engagement as well. So Instagram has a really cool feature now where they actually have a collaboration feature where you can post something and collaborate with another business, and it will showcase on both of your feeds. In this instance, that's a great opportunity for you to get increased engagement across the board. And then, of course, it also gives you social proof and recommendations. Positive recommendations and reviews from collaborating businesses really can be that social proof that helps to strengthen your reputation and encourages potential customers to choose your services. Okay, so hopefully you're still with us. This is a lot of information to just force out at you all at one time, but there are also a lot of tools that I think could be really helpful, especially if you are somebody who's not using a social media management service and you are doing it yourself, or someone on your team is doing it yourself. There's a way more than that's listed here, but I tried to pick out the ones that I feel like would be most important for you to know about. There's three categories that I want you to focus on when it comes to picking out tools to use to help you with social media. The first one being video editing. Again, video content is extremely important, and all of these are going to be an option for you to be able to easily edit videos. Some of them require more knowledge than others, but I tried to give you a range. The first two that you see here are CapCut and InShot. Both of these are apps that you can download directly to your phone and edit videos in your phone. They're actually very easy to follow and understand. You can do a quick tutorial right on their app and understand how you can really edit down a video to make it formatted correctly for the platform that you plan on posting the content. But these two are probably the best options for beginners. Then you have Adobe Premiere and Filmora. Both of these are a little bit more advanced, or a lot more advanced, depending on where you're at with your video editing skills. But these would require, of course, a desktop computer for you, or a laptop for you to get on and actually edit in a more advanced way. So if you do have some video editing knowledge, then those two are options for you. The last one that I put here that I did not want to miss out on is the ability to actually edit videos in the app. So Instagram and TikTok give you the ability to upload a video and then edit it right there in the app before you post it. The reason I bring this up is because the algorithms for both of these platforms are set up to actually boost you when you utilize their in-app editing features. So if you can watch a few tutorials and get familiar with how to edit videos within Instagram or TikTok, that is going to help you tremendously. And then, of course, if you're doing graphics or still images, then you have some options there as far as editing. The first one would be Canva. This is going to be mainly like your baseline beginner route. Canva has a free option as well as a paid option, but you have a lot of opportunity to make things like infographics, or edit a photo, make it black and white, or get rid of somebody in the background. They've really advanced their program tremendously, but it's a great option if you're just getting started with that. And then, of course, Adobe Photoshop. If you are more skilled, Photoshop is going to be a lot more advanced in how to actually edit a photo. Now, AI has really just popped on the scene and kind of taken over. So I would be remiss if I did not mention AI programs that could benefit you with your social media efforts. There's two that I really just wanted to focus on because I don't want to overwhelm you with too many AI programs. But the first one, and probably the one that we use the most here at Strella, is ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is, it's really and truly a world of different things in one. So you have the ability to type in prompts to ChatGPT to get information back. Now, there's obviously some restrictions with it. They actually haven't updated it since 2022, 2021, maybe 2021. So it does have like an aspect to it that you have to be very informed on. And also it does take some learning. There is a learning curve with how to use ChatGPT. But what this can do for you is if you're running out of content ideas, you can utilize it to help you create more content ideas. If you don't know how to create a caption, to write a caption, and what would be the best way to give that information to your audience, it can help you to write a caption. There's so many things. It's unreal. I can't even begin to list the number of things that ChatGPT can do for you. But if you have the time and the energy and you want to know how you can actually scale down the time that you're investing into your social media, ChatGPT can help with that. But it does take some research, and you want to make sure that you're always giving it that human touch and not relying strictly on ChatGPT. But on the other side of things, you have Munch.ai. Now, Munch.ai is a different type of AI platform because what it does is it takes long form video content and it creates many short form videos to be able to utilize on social media. So if you have a video of you doing a home tour, and you're like, well, this video is 10, 15 minutes long. I really need to break it down. You can upload that 10 or 15 minute long video into Munch, and it will then give you 3 minute or less videos, depending on which platform you want to utilize. And it will give you short form videos. Not only that, but it gives you keyword research. It gives you captions, things that you should include in your video. It gives you on screen text. There's so much that it does. It's an investment for sure, but again, it's a time saver. And when you're running a business, I think that's extremely important.
All right, so we're going to finish up on tools here. And I'd be remiss if I did not talk about scheduling and analytics. So when it comes to the execution side, these two things, you can actually use a lot of the same platforms for both. So for example, most social media sites, they allow you to schedule content directly in them, including Facebook, Twitter, well, X, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and in some cases, TikTok. They also have built-in analytics tools, which makes it super convenient for you to just complete sort of an all-in-one scheduling measurement tool without the reliance on a third-party app. However, there are cases when you want or need other tools. For example, if you have a goal related to traffic to your website, you'll need a measurement tool outside of a social channel such as Google Analytics. Also, some third-party sites can give you some deeper and more specialized analytics and social listening. So some common third-party tools for this would be Sprout Social, TweetDeck, which is now called X Pro, Hootsuite, Sendable, and there are dozens of specialized sites too, such as HubSpot, Zoho. You can even set up a custom Power BI dashboard. I will say that regardless of the tool, there are always going to be limitations simply because we do not own the social media sites and they change their API constantly. To date, I have still never found a one-size-fits-all solution to analytics and scheduling for social media. However, once you've developed that formula for measurement, what it is you want to measure, it becomes a lot easier to just keep up with it. As for scheduling, that's more of a thorn in our side for another day. But all I can say for sure is that no matter what tool you use, even built-in social tools, it will not be a perfect science. So you'll need to keep an eye out and make sure that your content is posting properly, especially with Meta, because we've had a lot of issues with things just randomly not scheduling, and they're really not that great with customer service. So keep an eye out if you're using those tools, or any tool really. So we've come to the end of our webinar. Thanks for doing this with us. Like we said, we've given you guys a lot of information. So if you have any questions, we have our email here. Feel free to drop us a line. And of course, you can check us out on our website, strellasocialmedia.com, or any or most major social media sites. We're on all the ones mentioned here. So I just want to thank you again for your time today, and I guess we'll see you in the flip.
Thank you.